Before we get into today's episode, I'm here with Austin Chatfield, who has a new single out. Austin, why don't you tell me a little about it?
Yeah, I just put something out last week. It's called Designated Disaster. It's my brand new single. This one's a lot of fun because it's the first one that I've got to have my hand on it all the way through the process. So essentially, me and a bunch of my friends having fun, just writing a song and getting it put out there. So I just turned 21 in Nashville, so I finally got to discover what it's truly like. So I figured I could write my first legal drinking song, at least, because I've never had any experience beforehand. But hopefully it resonates with some of y'all, and just it's out on all platforms, and please enjoy.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's what we're all about here at Mixing Room. Having fun with your friends, maybe having a drink along the way. And hey, is there anything that we can expect on the horizon for you in the future?
I do have something coming up soon. I do have to keep it a little bit on the down low. So if y'all want to follow me, Austin Chatfield Music on all platforms, I'll be giving y'all a little announcement on March the 5th. I got to keep quiet for it for now, but feel free to tune in.
We'll be excited to hear it. Again, folks, check out Austin's new single. Follow him on Instagram. We hope to have you on the show sometime soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Take care, Austin.
Welcome to the Mixing Room.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Trent.
We've got a great episode for you guys today. But before we get to that,
we have a little bit of catching up to do.
That we do.
So, Dan, you got this awesome experience to go to one of the foremost audiovisual concert venues in the world to see a phenomenal, historical, legendary band. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yes. A shout out to our friend Abby Hayden. She's a fan of the show. It was her 21st. Her 21st birthday was over the summer. And she had told her family, Mom, Dad, for my 21st, I want to go to Vegas. And her parents said, honey, you don't want to go to Vegas in the summer. So there was, she had her actual birthday, but then in the fall, me and a handful of others went with her to Vegas. And on the Saturday night of that weekend we were out there, we got to go to the Sphere. As you can see by my shirt, I was so very excited. And we got to see the Eagles. And they're an incredible band, of course. They lost Glenn Frey, probably almost 10 years ago now. But Glenn's son, Deacon, has been doing an incredible job of, stepping into his role and taking over some of his songs. They also have Vince Gill in the band now too. And Vince will do, one of his own songs, and he'll cover some of Glenn's songs too. It's just a remarkable band already. And then, like you said, the Sphere as a venue, just knocks your socks off.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Sphere. What was that like? What did it add to the concert? Because there's nothing like it.
Yeah. So the Sphere is actually, it's very, whatever you expect it to be, like, it's big screens and stuff, but it's almost slightly disorienting when you're walking to your seat, because everywhere you look up, you look to the side, you look almost down the rows beside you, it's all screens. So you almost lose your sense of balance as you go in there. Like, it's, because again, it's just so off-putting at first. But then once you kind of get seated and you're in there and you kind of adjust and your brain starts to make sense of the space, then the show becomes the visuals. And it's not that every visual is super intense, or at the very least, that wasn't the case for the Eagles. I know U2 had a residency there. The Grateful Dead, I think, had a residency there. It may vary by artist, but at least in the case of the Eagles, a lot of the visuals were kind of reinterpretations of the lyrics that came it was almost like a dream, like a kind of a picture, like if you were dreaming and you had the radio on and you had a CD of the Eagles' greatest hits playing, and whatever your brain would like kind of concoct to visualize those songs, that's what's going on around you in the Sphere, and it's above you, beside you, in front of you, beneath you. Their audio system, I forget the exact specs of it, but their audio system is just as intricate. So you never feel like the music's too loud in any given spot. It's very balanced.
Yeah.
I actually saw an interview where Vince Gill said, I've never been ignored by more people at the same time, but like they're all paying complete attention because they're not looking at the band on the stage. They're looking at the visual reinterpretation of these songs.
Yeah, there's a million different ways fans can look at this. Did you find that distracting at all?
It's not distracting, or at least with a band like the Eagles have always been a band that their music is their show. They're not a band of huge pyrotechnics or, a huge stage presence. The songs are the show, and it's about replicating those songs and delivering those songs live to a T. So when you have a band whose physical stage presence isn't super high energy or all over the place, it really allows you to digest those visuals, because the song starts, say, and you kind of just look, you're looking at the band for a few seconds, and then the screens start to adapt and start to change around you. And now all of a sudden your attention's up here and over there and over here. And you're digesting that music, and it's not a concert going experience like any other.
Yeah.
And it really, I don't know if it is fully the future, because it perhaps detracts in some way from the actual live band, but it's certainly a future. Or even if you are a lively band, it's something you could experiment with, where you say, we're going to do a little bit of a different show. And we want to bring you greater visuals. We want you to enjoy our music with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any highlights from the show? Whether that's a song that just came to life in this venue, or...
Oh, I mean, I teared up multiple times, because the Eagles have been one of my top favorite bands for a long time. I just have memories driving home from playing at the high school prom, listening to the Eagles, things like that, where I can picture it, I'm on the highway, the windows are down, the CD is maxed on the volume, and now you're, again, because they're reinterpreting those songs. I mean, one that absolutely got me, that shouldn't have, it wasn't any better or worse than any of the others, was Peaceful Easy Feeling. And if you intend to go to the show, you can skip a few minutes or something. But the visual on that one, it's it starts very plain, and the song is, very kind of mellow, as I'm sure you're aware. And then there's this, it's like a whole bunch of doves being released at once, but the visual, it's all of a sudden all these birds just very gently and slowly fly about the venue, because it's all screens, but there was just something so, and then you're realizing, oh, they're over here, they're over there, and somewhere I literally have a video of the first chorus of the song or something, and us just being wow, this is great, and then that hits, and we're literally whoa, and again, you could forget that there's a live band there playing the song.
Yeah.
If you had a radio on with the Eagles music playing, you could digest those visuals just as in depth, but then there's also that element of, oh shit, this is live right now. And those guys are singing those songs right now. And, the body of work, just the physical presence of that band in that room, it's breathtaking. If anybody out there gets the chance, oh my God, you got to take it. To go see the Eagles at the Sphere, or to see anybody else. I know Kenny Chesney just announced Sphere shows.
Oh, man.
And I'm sure he's going to have an incredible time with it.
It seems like the way they're doing this, most of the artists that pick up shows or residencies for the Sphere are going to be bucket list artists for a lot of people, at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much on the industry side, if you're listening and you're not super familiar, there's so much energy and time and finance that go into even just auditioning to the Sphere's people to get picked. You can't just say, I want to play the Sphere the way that you would play any theater or hall. You have to kind of earn it. And so to even just have the financial ability, the fan base with the financial ability, you kind of have to be a legacy act. You have to be of that caliber. But yeah, a great venue to just digest music and let the songs speak for themselves, which actually our guest today, his music, as I say multiple times in our episode, it really it takes you somewhere, man. It just really takes you somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our guest for today has just released an album, a debut album for a solo act.
Yes. He's been a frontman for several years now, and we've played with him and his band a number of times over the years, but now he's back and dude, it's different, but it's good.
Absolutely. The artistry that he puts into it and intentionality really is incredible, but you're going to hear a little bit more about that soon. So the debut album Hold Strong came out on January 24th. probably about a month ago for when this episode is going to come out. The first single off of that was Church's Bells, which is a really cool one. I know you wanted to say some stuff
Church's
about
Bells. It's just I didn't get the chance to mention it when we were talking with our guest, but it's really got it's a call to action. Like, just what an exciting intro, and I can already tell you the vibe of this song. Like, I can already tell where this is going to take me, and I already feel motivated and happy and willing to persevere, which I think is really kind of the theme of this episode, is perseverance. And then the other single from this record, What Holds Me Back, came out January 3rd of this year. So we're really excited to bring this one to you guys.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's bring on Fletcher Not William. Welcome to the show, Fletcher Not William. We're really happy to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. This is great.
Yeah, of course. So what are some things that have been going on with you recently?
Yeah, well, a little over a week ago, I put out my first album. It's a solo project called Fletcher Not William, as you mentioned. And it's the first time that I actually put out an album ever. It's just been singles and EPs before that, but I just decided that I had so many songs just lying around, and a bit of a story to tell, so I just wanted to put out an album, not expecting much from it, but it was it felt good, it felt good to put on an album, and we're really proud of it, everyone that worked on it, so that's been the newest update.
Yeah, and I was just listening to it over the weekend, obviously knowing that you were going to be here, and dude, the sequencing. I think sequencing is kind of a lost art right now.
I think so too.
Because everything is playlisted, everything is singles.
Absolutely.
And I mean, like you said, you had a story to tell. And this record clearly has a story to it.
Yes.
I got so lost in it in the best of ways. It was like the first good, warm weekend of the year. I went for a walk around Centennial and just kind of had earbuds in. And I just let that record, take me away. And I really think you've outdone yourself with this.
Wow.
So why don't we jump right into
Thank
it?
you.
I want to talk about What Holds Me Back. That's kind of, that's kind of the main single.
Yep, that's the main single. If there's a song that defines kind of what Fletcher Not William is, it's upbeat, it's jangly, it's a little bit of a jangle pop type of song. It doesn't tell the whole story of the album. There's a lot of more acoustic, some even darker songs, but this one is very upbeat. I thought it'd be a great song to kind of introduce everybody to my new sound, and it's a song that defines this project really. It was actually, I took classes in songwriting in college, and it was a prompt that a professor gave me. It was to write a song called.
Do you remember which professor that was?
It was Liz Hangbar.
Okay.
And she's an incredible songwriter. So this song is, really thanks to her. But the prompt was to write a song called Just the Way You Are, because there's so many songs called that. So how can you take that and run with it, even though it's been done so many times? So that's why at the end of the chorus, it does end with, what holds me back from getting far is simply just the way you are. So it used to be called that. But I didn't want that to be, there's so many songs called that. I wanted to stand out just a bit. So I just put it a line before what holds me back. And then it gives some intrigue. Well, what holds you back? Well, holds you back from leaving you.
Well, it's funny you say you wrote this in a songwriting class. I actually did I think this might be the first line or second line of the song, but like, you can say you make a mess of things. I call it modern art.
Yeah, it's opening line. Yeah.
Dude, opening lines, they got to hook you in.
Exactly.
Jesus, you hooked me in with that one.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think that was a big thing, if I take anything from my time studying it, I take a lot of pride in lyrics. I think that's probably what I spend the most time with. And as you mentioned today, with attention span, lyrics, either album works and even lyrics in songs, I don't think they're as prioritized as, hooks and even today, just, structure that changes, things that keep you engaged, right? It's all about engagement. I guess I am a bit behind the times, but I do value lyrics a lot. So I appreciate that you brought that up. Yeah, I think an opening line is so crucial to roping people in and also kind of defining what the song's going to be. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
And we're going to get to some of your deep cuts here in a second.
Okay.
But I wonder.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm right on this. You're a Jersey boy?
So yeah, well, Pittsburgh is home. I lived there since I was 16, but I did live in New Jersey from when I was 16 to 20.
Okay.
and then I came to Nashville.
Okay.
So in my high school years, I did live in New Jersey. Yes.
So this record being somewhat conceptual, there's some songs on here that are past the 3-minute 30-second mark.
Yeah, somehow,
Is,
right. Bad news.
No, that's great news. Is that a Bruce thing? Because here's why I ask.
Yes.
Here's why I ask, because I'm a big fan of his.
Absolutely.
But on the drive over to Centennial,
yes,
I was listening to the live 75, 85 record.
Oh, it's a great one.
And I'm rolling through Centennial trying to find a place to park and listening to 4th of July Asbury Park.
Love that one.
Right?
Yeah.
That fades out. I park the car and I go to listen to your record. And the first song is an overture called 4th of July.
Yes.
And it's like it's very moody. If you haven't listened to it, we're going to link the album in the description of this show. Please listen to it. But it just it sets the scene, and it does so in just such a way that you don't see anymore. And so I was wondering if there was any sort of Jersey influence in that.
Well, so two things. So the first thing, there's a lot of actually New Jersey influence. Pretty much all of the videos you see, the graphics, is actually taken on the Jersey Shore.
Okay.
So me walking on the beach, that is in New Jersey. Because when I saw my family over Thanksgiving and Christmas, when I was there, I gave my sister a phone, I gave my cousin a phone. Hey, just take a video of me walking. I just took a tripod. Actually, no, I just laid my phone in the sand. I didn't even have a tripod. And because this album, having to put it out, it was a big decision. Like, what are people going to think? I don't want, I'm in a band as well. We can go over later on. But like, I don't want people to think I was leaving anybody or forsaking an opportunity. But it was a personal thing. There's been some things happen in my life. I wanted to, talk about my story, my testimony, perseverance, and the Jersey Shore has become in my later years kind of a place of solace, a fortress of solitude, I guess. Big Superman fan. We don't need to get into that, but we'll see if that movie's good coming out soon. I hope so. But yeah, the Jersey Shore. That's why a lot of those videos are there, because to me that is a place of kind of retreating and finding inspiration. 4th of July. Yes, let's get into that. This album is about perseverance, if I could sum it up in one word. The opening song and Hold Strong, the title track, are dedicated to victims of the Highland Park mass shooting that took place on 4th of July, 2022. So, the history was Summer League, my band. We were at a Battle of Bands competition, great opportunity. The Intergestion Music Festival, this great organization that promotes local live music, and we were there in Highland Park, Illinois, a suburb right outside of Chicago, on 4th of July at this competition, and a couple blocks over, a man opened fire at, I think killed around, a little less than 10 people, but he opened fire on a 4th of July parade, and it was really tragic, and, looking back on it, I think it did leave a bit of an impact, because that was kind of the first time that I was around, something it was tragedy that was happening, right before me. And, it was, as unfortunate as it was very inspirational. And in the sense that it taught me to persevere and to look at life and to be grateful. And that opening track, those two songs, that's dedicated to the victims and to, I guess we can call it post-traumatic growth. It's growing past that. So not exactly a Bruce Springsteen connection, but I like that you picked up on that. But yeah, so that is, and if you see the canvas on that on Spotify, it's 4 pictures that my sister took of Summer League on that day. What happened was, after the shooting happened, everyone basically fled the scene, and we met at my drummer Eli. We met at his parents' house, and we said to each other, let's put on our own show. So we all just scrambled. We put together PAs, and we had another band from the festival as well play with us. And we just had the families, everyone confused. Everyone's obviously just didn't even know what happened, but we played a concert, and that's what those pictures are from. So that moment really did shape me. It shaped all of us who's been a part of it. And that's also kind of why I wanted to put this album out, is because that was it was a life-changing moment. And the way I persevere now, and it's made me stronger. But it's also kind of made me have a shell in a way. And this album is kind of breaking through that and sharing with people the importance of staying strong, having a community. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, there's there's something so poignant about that being a 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
And critics would say there's nothing more American than these mass tragedies, these shootings that keep happening time and time again. But there's also a certain persistence in the American spirit that would be the spirit to say, we're still going to play today.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we're still gonna go through with this because maybe it can help some people. Mm-hmm. So props to you. I vaguely remember when that, like, seeing that on social media when that all happened, and you guys posting about it and kind of grieving in the moment.
Yeah.
So again, that's good on you. Good for you for finding that persistence and then for capturing it in those songs.
Yeah, because when you go through something like that, you never know who you can help by sharing your testimony, by sharing things like that. You never know who you can help because people might be going through things, So a lot of these songs, Hold Strong, Jack of All Trades, it's a funnier one, Here and Now, Church's Bells. These are songs that I wanted to put out. It's bigger than me. It's finally kind of saying, even though it is a solo project, it's my face on it. But these are songs that are bigger than even my artistry, because not that they're important, but I want people, when they hear the lyrics, as we've mentioned, the importance of the lyrics, when they hear that message, I want them to be uplifted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of incredible songs on there that really get into this story that you wanted to tell. But one that kind of caught me by surprise a little bit was When She Loved Me.
Yes, a cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how that one ended up on there.
Yes.
I love your version of it.
Well,
too.
Thank you so much. Definitely an odd man out. The middle of the album, What Holds Me Back, When She Loved Me, Just Like Me, it doesn't really fit with the rest. I mean, they're kind of all upbeat. We can call that kind of section of the album kind of like almost a resume. It's like, okay, so here's my story, here's Perseverance right in the middle. Who am I? What holds me back? That defines my sound. I love jangle pop. I love the sound of a Rickenbacker guitar, strumming like that, arpeggios, stuff like that. Love that stuff. Just Like Me. That's a song I wrote when I was 16 years old. That's also another jangle pop song. In the middle, you have this cover from a Toy Story movie. I think it's a song that I always loved. It started. I first began with just a guitar arrangement, just like a jazz guitar arrangement, just playing the notes, the melody with the chords beneath that. And you'll hear some of that as well with the classical guitar. I do have some of that. It translated over. But that's another piece that kind of defines who I am. I do love, maybe my biggest flaw is I do find it hard to let go of some of the things I loved as a child, whether that is comic books and, even sometimes video games. I do find that hard. I find
but don't we all?
Solace. Yeah, I think that's something we can all relate to,
Mm-hmm.
But When She Loved Me, that was, it's a very moving piece, but in terms of my story, it just helps define who I am as a writer, an artist. I mean, I didn't write the song, but who am I as a songwriter? Well, a little bit of my story. I love the things that I grew up with, and haven't, I've moved past some things, but I like to. I'm a nostalgic person. That's who I am. I am a victim of just falling into the nostalgic trap. But some good things can come out of it. Some, and for example, here's a cover of a song that just kind of has always been there in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing that with everybody. So if they ever wanted to know, hey, who are you? Well, just listen to those 3 middle songs, and that's going to tell you.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
And what a beautiful way to present that too, as far as like sandwiching that in the middle of the record.
Yeah, it gives you a break from this kind of heaviness, because
Right.
there is heaviness on this record.
And there's like you said earlier with like Jack of All Trades, there's a little bit of heaviness even in the playful
Yes.
song.
Yes.
And that's something you do really well too.
Thank you.
One of the tracks I know I wanted to get to was Just Like Me.
Yes.
It's got a little bit of like almost like a surf rock vibe to it.
A little bit, very 60s, right?
Yes, very 60s.
Yes.
Triplets in the verses.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
so
60s pop.
arrangement, and that almost touches on Summer League territory. But it doesn't quite get there. But it's kind of the songs on this record, like this
Yes.
whole record, I'm listening, and you are Fletcher Not William. You were not Fletcher, the frontman of Summer League.
Sure.
But like, if there was any track that was kind of a nod to that,
Yes.
it, at least from my listening perspective, feels like it's that.
Okay.
So tell me about arrangement wise. First, I mean, the record, broadly speaking, how do you find that new voice? How do you find that new perspective? But then also, how do you blend in some of those elements from that you're comfortable with, that you've been using for a long
That's a
time?
great point. Yeah. Yeah. Well, my time spent in Summer League, my time I still spend in Summer League teaches me a lot. To be an engaging frontman, to, kind of to capture people's, attention, to reel them in, first lines of songs. I think that kind of began with Summer League. I want the first line to be, to rope people in. Also lyrics, I learned a lot of that in my time at Summer League. And also, just practically speaking, my knowledge of even things like technology has gotten better. I never used in-ears before until with Summer League. We decided to let's get a little more sophisticated, in our sound and just the way we present ourselves with the suits, with in-ears. So practically speaking, learned a lot of just experience in just becoming a little more professional. The way that kind of ties in to this new project, I try to be kind of sophisticated in my approach to live performance. You probably won't see me ever smashing guitar, falling off this, taking my shirt off. You probably won't see that happen because another thing with Summer League.
The people want.
So that's my apologies. Well, if you want that, all right, maybe sometime make them happy. But I got to get at least 100 people at a show. Okay, that's the goal. And then we could sit and talk about that. No, I'm just joking. But there's sophistication of the performance. And there's a value of kind of sounding good, and also we're sounding good as in some projects they pride themselves on it's a dirty sound, and that works. For me, my brand, my image with both Summer League and Fletcher Not William, I do pride myself on. I want it to sound good. I want it to sound pure. And when we translate that to live, I want to do the best job I can to translate that right. Some ways that I had to differ it, however. One of the things that Summer League taught me is, image to an extent helps you differentiate yourselves. How do you stand out? You need to have a recognizable image, maybe even a sound. You shouldn't box yourself in, but to help with longevity, to help with people deciphering you between, as we're in this era with no barriers of entry, Spotify, so many people making music. How do you differentiate yourself? And, that Summer League definitely taught me a lot. My experience just kind of toiling with how do we get Summer League to be not a household name, but a name that people recognize for what we do, which is sophisticated music, suits, kind of jazzy pop, stuff like that. So how do I get Fletcher Not William? What do I need to do? Well, first things first, like outfit, so suits for Summer League. What do I do here? Well, I kind of dress like me. It makes you think about as an artist, who are you? Like what defines you? It's a Toy Story cover. It's jangle pop. I love 60s pop. I love how it came back in the 80s a little bit. I love that stuff. And I wanted to write songs like that, kind of in that wheelhouse, So the way I had to differentiate it was, okay, so I'm kind of jazzy over here in Summer League. I want to be a little more straightforward here. I want to just kind of be, lyrics first, not so many diminished chords happening, kind of straightforward, take a lot of inspiration from 60s pop, 80s kind of alternative, and that kind of helped me differentiate this, and even down to the clothes I wear. I did want to separate that. Right. And I like that you brought that up, that Just Like Me is kind of a track that binds both together. And I think the reason you're picking up on is I wrote that song 8 years ago. I was 16 years old when I wrote that. So I really didn't have any concept of brand, image, even sound. That kind of at its roots it was just an early song of mine. A friend of mine, the story is a friend of mine from New Jersey. He said to me, I started writing songs freshman year of high school. And he said, yeah, all right, great. Now write a song for me. He was kind of being tongue in cheek about it. And I said, okay, you want a song? He loved the Beatles. All right, well, here's a song. And it basically talks about, I
had already picked up on some Beatles.
Definitely.
A little bit of that influence. And then there's that reference in, I think it's the second verse.
You're talking about the Beatles. Because that's what we were always talking about, the Beatles. What is the future going to look like? And as I talk about in the song, I hated talking about that, but but in the end, you realize that you're just grateful that someone's taking the time to even talk to you, and you're grateful that they're your friend, So that song it's not a love song, it's a friendship song, it's a song about, a good friend. So that's kind of why you're probably recognizing this, it's tying together, because that song was kind of came before this idea of separation even happened. And fun fact, that song, it used to be a Summer League song, like right when we began. We were kind of a 4-piece, kind of indie pop, didn't really know what we wanted to do, but we did play that song.
Yeah,
we did. Before the Horns, before the Suits. Yeah, we were kind of just an indie pop band.
Which the Horns are also kind of a Jersey thing.
A little bit, yeah. Well, I mean, my time spent in New Jersey definitely introduced me to the world of jazz and soul more than ever, because New Jersey being, the most densely populated state, like you're going to have, publicly funded high schools that say, okay, let's give people that don't like sports something. Oh, I know jazz. It's intellectual and music and art. So let's give them that. So they have great jazz education. I benefited from that greatly. So even though there have been some rough days there, rough patches my time there. I can't thank Nick Rotundo, my band director, and Rob Jobert. These great teachers who just those are my inspirations, who really shaped me. My time spent there, I really benefited from that.
Yeah. Well, and let's dive just a little deeper into Summer League for a minute.
Absolutely.
Just because that's been such an important part of your music career for,
of course,
the past 5 years now?
Absolutely.
Let's at least touch on Summer League Prom, because this is, you're talking about, first of all, merging a whole series of different skills: booking an event, hosting an event, performing at an event, setting a theme, setting an attire, scheduling it, usually right around the time of finals when we were in college. And
you're bringing back a lot of trauma. I mean, okay. No, not trauma, just stress. I'm shaking as you're saying this. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Well, but fear not, because this was always successful.
Always, yeah.
And I know people listening don't necessarily know this, but there was Summer League Prom was almost treated like the prom. Around the Belmont community, at least as much as any sorority formal or fraternity event. This was an event. This was a real thing. And again, you guys grew it each year. So talk a little bit about maybe how you were able to do that and what those events are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you do listen to this album, Jack of All Trades talks about how I feel kind of like a failure outside of college. But if I look back, that's just thoughts. You can't let these thoughts control you. It's just a funny song about that. But when I look back at college, there are a lot of things that, man, I'm just so grateful that they happened. And Summer League, the series of proms that we had, 3 shows. And for listeners that don't know what we're talking about, Summer League, this band, my band, we had this idea our sophomore year of college that to get our brand out there, let's throw a formal themed show, because someone told me once you have to differentiate yourselves. One of the best things to do is tell your listeners how they should listen to your music, which seems a bit weird, seems a bit like Big Brother-esque, but I think what he meant was it's kind of a way of getting your brand out there and getting people involved with that brand. So it's okay, well, we are a sophisticated band with jazz pop music. Let's have everybody dress like us. Let's have everybody come to a show expecting to have this kind of formal night, this one night of year extravaganza, a Great Gatsby type of event, and it worked, in the sense that the footage we got from it just kind of defined our brand very well, and our music and our sound, and it gave a lot of people a great night and great memories. And that, looking back on it, man, that's I'm so proud of that. And yeah, it was always stressful, having to, but Eli was just so good at booking because he was persistent. I myself, I need to get better at just believing in myself a little better. When someone says no, okay, well, that's just one person. Don't give up, right? But Eli was just so persistent at that. And he, all 3, actually, I booked the last one, but he got the end for the first one, and then we said, let's up the ante. Let's get a wedding venue for the next one. We did. That was stressful with the sound purposes, but still people showed up and it was fun.
That was junior year.
That was our junior year. Emerson Hall.
That was, dude. That's what I'm saying though. That was a top tier moment. Like,
wow, man.
I don't know where exactly numerically that would fall on like college experiences. If I was
sure, you had to rank them.
But like, as far as just thinking back on college when all the memories come rushing back in a blur, that's one of them.
It's amazing.
Like, it's, you know, and it's funny you say like, you know, oh, you were hesitant on booking. How many times did we play shows with you? Because we got half our bookings from playing with you.
Oh, yes, man, that was fun, man. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I think
you had some ambition that you're probably selling yourself short on, unless Eli did.
Well,
everything
we kind of worked together, but he did a lot of the emailing. You know, he wasn't afraid to just kind of keep emailing. I think time's a little different right now. I think, you know, especially the end. You know, venues are kind of cracking down on Belmont bands. You know, because. Well, I don't know. I don't really know, but it's been harder. I'll tell you, it's been harder now. But back then, yeah, I guess we really weren't afraid to chase after it, you know.
There was such a after COVID, right? Like as you're coming out of that COVID bubble,
there was
such a lust for life.
That's a great point.
Shows,
it's a great point. You know, yeah, I think that definitely helps because people were ready, and we came at a good time. We were ready to provide something just a little different, you know, and we still are. You know, I think the challenge is figuring out how we continue to do that outside of college, and you know that's a completely different conversation. But to end on that Summer League prom, it was great, and they are great memories. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'll leave it at that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, they kind of almost mark growth for Summer League. Right?
Absolutely, they do.
This project is further growth for you as an artist. What do you think is coming next for Fletcher Not William?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I'm getting back in the studio like now. I think what I've realized is I'm most happy when I am creating. I am. You know, I don't love. You know, frankly, I can't stand the marketing aspect of it. You know, I'm really just not good at it. You know, I'd like to be.
Well,
you know?
That's why we're glad that you're here today.
Yes, right. Well, I appreciate that, but I am happiest when I'm, you know, creating. I'm in the studio and we're making stuff, and when I'm playing live. And I know it's been tough to play live recently. You know, I don't have much of a plan in that regard. I'm working on it, but you know, the fact of the matter is, I'm making music that I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of this music. You know, for myself and also for the message that maybe it could touch somebody else in a good way. You know, just maybe. And that thought, it's what's carrying me forward. You know, it's when my perspective is a little bit less about me and what's next for me and how it can be there for people. You know, so I guess what's next for me is I just make more music. You know, and I think the next album I want to do another album. And I think this one's going to be maybe a little more on the edgier side of the sound, maybe lean a little more into the distorted kind of the anger. If Hold Strong is an album of perseverance, I want the next one to be an album of kind of taking a stand. So here's what it looks like to take it and to stay standing. But what does it look like to fight back? So that would be my next step. And of course, there's Summer League. We still have a whole album recorded with there as well. So both are active. So we have a lot to work on.
To see some Summer League shows.
Absolutely.
Perhaps in the summer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You might see the league in the summer. Okay, you might. But we're working on it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a dry season right now. January is a tough month and February. You know, beginning of February. But I think we're going to start to see a little more traction happening, just because everybody realizes they're in a bit of a funk. It's just what winter does to you, and we're going to hit the ground running.
Well, that's really exciting. It really, really, truly is. You know, you were talking about how you just want to get that music out there because you never know who it could help or who it can, you know, motivate. And again, just listening to this record over the weekend was really motivating. And, you know, I felt like it you know, took me places and allowed me some space to just kind of think and exist and learn about myself. Man, what are you listening to? Because if you're creating this level of output, there's got to be some incredible input. So
Mm-hmm.
before we let you go here, you got to tell us what are you listening to that's giving you motivation?
Yeah, well, I don't want to sound like an old head, but
That's not going to happen if you're talking.
yeah, well, biggest Bruce fan I know.
Wow.
Well, hey, Wiz, that's great, man.
Bruce, you're young, you still got it.
Yeah, that's right. He's still got it. We can pick him up when he falls, you know. The album that has inspired me the most, and with this project, has been with me for the last almost 2 years, and it's an album called "The Soul Cages" by Sting, and
I could hear a little bit of Sting in this.
Yes, there definitely is. He's definitely been a big inspiration for me. He wrote it at a time when his father passed away, and he wrote, and basically turned this, you know, this unfortunate tragedy into, you know, art that, you know, it inspired other people, inspired himself to keep going. And you know, through some tragedy in my own life, you know, this album really, really, you know, it shaped me, you know, and in recent years too. I mean, we talk about stuff that shapes us. We talk about, like, you know, childhood stuff, favorite cartoons and albums growing up. But it's funny because I discovered this album recently, and it really has kind of given me new wind in my sails. That's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of the canvases are beach focused. It's because that album is about ships and kind of the archetype of the sea. Yes. Of an endless kind of, we could say, a void, but what does it look like to be in the middle of an ocean? Mm-hmm. And you know, having yourself, you know, you don't have, again, for him, his father was gone, his mother had passed long before that. He did feel very alone. What does it look like? You know, where do you go from there? You know, and you know, I found that very inspiring. So I wanted to incorporate a little bit of that kind of ocean. There's a song called Waves on, a little bit of that ocean feel of kind of loneliness, of inspirational, you know, walks on the beach, you know, stuff like that. I wanted to include some of that in the album as well. So Soul Cages by Sting, if you've not heard it, give it a chance, because it is powerful stuff. And a song to start with, Why Should I Cry For You? That's a brilliant, brilliant song. Man, I can't say enough good things about it. I guess you could say he ate. I guess you could say that, you know. And maybe left no crumbs. I don't know. You know, something like that.
Sting, if you're listening.
Yeah,
you
right.
ate and left no crumbs.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Fletcher, thank you for taking some time.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah. Seriously.
We look forward to having you back in the mixing room when
I'd love to.
When you've got shows coming up or another release, or when Summer League is ready to hit the road.
Absolutely.
You know, you'll have our full support. We'll be there cheering you on, possibly sharing the stage with you.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. This is such a great thing. You know, I think, you know, after college, I you know, it's easy for everybody to kind of, well, just lose our connections we made, you know, kind of drift apart from old friendships. And if, again, you kind of feel alone, but this is such a great thing. I'm excited to see how this grows and how you invite people to share their stories, because everyone's got a story worth telling. I promise you that. So what you guys are doing is so great. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be on here.
And that was our conversation with Fletcher Not William. Fletcher's been a good friend of ours for years now. He was so kind of him to, you know, say what he said about the show. And we really do hope that this is a platform that more artists can really take advantage of. And, you know, like Fletcher said, this is a good way to kind of hold our community together and even grow it. So if you're listening, one thing that would be really meaningful for us is if you rate us after you listen. If you listen to today's episode, some of our other episodes, and you've liked what you've heard, it only takes a moment. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. That really helps us with the algorithm.
Yeah. If you're catching this on YouTube, there's all of the typical YouTube things you hear: liking, commenting with guests you want to see, questions you want us to answer, anything like that. And of course, subscribing does wonders to help us.
Yeah. Of course, support the show on social media too. You can find us at Mixing Room Podcast on Instagram, on TikTok. Trent already mentioned YouTube, our YouTube Shorts. We're working on getting out to more platforms. We may be on more platforms by the time this airs. We're going to have all of our social media referenced or linked in the description of this episode. So please check us out. Again, follow us, keep up with us, you know, support us in any of those ways. It really means a lot to us, and it allows us to keep fostering this community of artists that we're so happy to, you know, be supporting right now.
Yeah. And make sure you of course, go check out our guest. We'll have links to all sorts of his album, project, other projects, whatnot below.
Yeah, his band Summer League, his solo efforts. Anything else we think is relevant? I don't know. Maybe we'll find an old photo of him or something that we can taunt him with a little bit.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Mixing Room Podcast with our guest, Fletcher Not William. I'm Trent.
I'm Daniel, and we'll see you next time.